episode of CodeAlong with gOZie, we'll be looking at HTML lists. Okay, HTML lists allow developers to group a set of related items in lists. There are three basic types: on ordered list, and description lists. So let's have a look at them. Create a new HTML document here, call it lists.html. Okay, we'll create the basic web page structure, shift 1, enter, and we change the title, HTML lists. Okay, so let's try to add some other elements here. So let's have h1, and let's have the same HTML lists here, and use h2 to define the type. So we have on ordered lists. Okay, so to render on ordered list, we start with the UL tag. Okay, that's a shortcut I've been using. You don't have to go left angle bracket, UL right angle bracket. Of course, even if you do that, VS Code will complete the other one for you. I didn't have to do anything to put like this section. VS Code have to do that as long as you type something that is that it understands as a tag. The other shortcut is just to type the word and press enter. Okay, so now for us to render, for browser to render on ordered list, you have to start with the UL tag. Then within the UL tag, you now have to define the items that will be placed in the list. To define those items, you use the li list item tags. Okay, so let's say we put let's just use states in Nigeria. So Anambra or Abia, Umuahia, li Adamawa, li Kwa Ibom, I think it's Ibom like this. Then Anambra, li Anambra. Okay, so let's look at this lists. Okay, now looking at this, you can see that items in on ordered lists are kind of denoted with this bullet, like basically bullets, because they don't, on other lists, items on other lists do not have a form of hierarchy. They're just there, basically at random. As against other lists that will have to follow a hierarchy, a particular item will have to be 1, the other one will have to be 2, the other one will have to be 3, 4, and 5, and 6, and so on and so forth. Now, let's look at other lists. H2, ordered lists. Okay, so we start ordered list with the OL tag. Like I told you, they're self-descriptive. On ordered list, UL, ordered list, OL. On the list item, let's just copy this, copy and paste within the ordered list, and then have a look at it. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the difference. This denotes a hierarchy for the list, and this denotes no hierarchy for the list. Now, what if I want to change this bullets to something else? So in the UL tag, you have you put a type attribute. By default, it's disk. So let's change it to circle. Okay. So you can see this is changed to circle. I will also change it to square. We could also use when we get to CSS, we'll look at how to put the picture there. By default is disk. Okay, that's the one I have by default. Right. Now let's look at this too. It could be A, B, C, D, or Roman numerals. So type by default is 1, 2, 3. So let's put A, then there's small a. So depending on the one you want. So let's pick the capital A, B, C, D. Let's change this to the Roman numerals. I, V, okay? And the default one is 1. Okay, so let's look at the last type of HTML lists. It's called a description list. It's basically a list of terms with a description of each term. So let's say we want to what are we trying to describe now? Description lists. Okay, so as usual, self-descriptive starts with the DL, and the description term, like the term we want to define. So let's say we're defining biology. Okay, so we could have the description, the study of plants. Then we'll have another definition for it, DD. Okay, sorry. Study of plants and animals. Okay, so we have another term, DT, and we'll look at chemistry, DD, study of chemicals. I think that's to summarize for the definition of chemistry. Anyway, DT, so physics, that's study of the earth, blah 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 blah. I'm not sure I remember what the definition of physics is. Study of matter. Okay, matter. Yeah, I believe that's to summarize. So let's look at it. Okay, so you can see that these are the lists and their descriptions. Now let's look at one more. It's not really a type, but just maybe a way of using some of these, or either of the ordered or unordered list to solve a problem. So it's called a nested list. Okay, so let's look at a situation where we have okay, let's use UL and the list items. Let's look at maybe staple food in Nigeria and the ingredients needed. Okay, let's start with rice and stew. Okay, now I will want to have another list inside this. Okay, let's finish with the food. So let's say beans, and let's say yam and egg sauce. I'm not sure my spelling of egg sauce is correct. SUACE, unknown word. Okay, whatever. Now, what we have is this. Is what we have. Now, for us to define, to show the ingredients within each of them, just within the list item, we'll have to embed, we have to nest another unordered list. Okay, LI, we'll have the rice, another LI, we have tomatoes, another LI, we have pepper, I hope I get the spelling correctly, another LI, of course, meats, don't miss meats. Okay, so the same thing here, we'll move the beans to the next line, move the closing LI to the next line, we'll create a space under within the list item, but under the other item, and we'll create our other lists. Then they'll have the list item beans, then we'll have list item oil, then we'll have another list item. Let's just make 3 crayfish. I don't know if this is right. It's been long I cooked anything. So move this to the next line, and move this to the next line, and here you will list item yam, Another list item, egg, and another list item, tomatoes, okay. Now, I believe this is wrong, very wrong. So let's look at it, refresh. Now we have our items and the ingredients needed. For my own solution, I hardly use description list. If I ever have to define anything, I prefer using a nested list. I can't remember ever using description list. Okay, so I'm just providing with options. You could use either of the two.